Today's video is a bit of a dark topic, and different to our usual comedic approach. It was suggested by The Real Trevin Clayton on Instagram, so thank you. Remember, if you want to suggest us some of your own video ideas, make sure you follow us on either Twitter or Instagram at Fact5Wrestling, and send us a DM or just tweet us, and we might just turn your video idea into a reality. As always, we hope you enjoy the video. Booker T was born the youngest of 8 children in a poor single-parent household in Louisiana. By the age of 13, Booker T's mother passed away, which meant his sister took over parenting duties, and, according to Booker, she wasn't the greatest of role models.
I remember my sister, told me one thing. She always said, the way she taught me, she said, when you tell a lie, no matter whatever that lie is, you stick to it, and you don't divert from it. One thing I didn't realize was that lie was going to stick with me as well.
Without any sort of disciplined figure in his life, this led Booker down the wrong path, and he started involving himself with the wrong crowd. This started with him committing theft before moving on to a more serious crime, armed robbery. At the age of 21, Booker T was convicted and found guilty for a series of armed robberies he committed at a Wendy's restaurant where he worked, and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He ended up serving 19 months of his sentence. Ahmed Johnson competed in the WWF between 1995 and 1999, and is best known for becoming the first African American to win a singles championship in the WWE.
The new Intercontinental Champion!
His big stature and toughness can be attributed to the violent upbringing he went through, which involved regular beatings, and his involvement in gang violence. Johnson had a very abusive father who would regularly beat his mother and his siblings, as well as himself. Anytime he tried to help his mother, he would receive a beating.
He was a very intense, violent man, And I can remember one time, he tied me down to the bed and took the boiling water and poured it on my stomach. And it was so bad, my skin came off in a circle about that big. And my skin just started bubbling up. And I remember him taking me and putting me in the bathtub full of cold water. And when he did, my skin would start peeling off and it started floating on top of the water. It was so deep, the burn was so deep, until the blood fragmentations in your stomach started bleeding. That's how deep the burn was.
The regular beatings he received caused Johnson to go down a violent path, and that involved him aligning himself with the Bloods gang, a notorious Los Angeles gang symbolized by their red clothing and their involvement in drugs, theft, and murder, among other criminal activities. As a result of his decision, he would often get himself into fights in school, but he decided to change his bad lifestyle by joining the army. According to Johnson, it was all going well up until he was discharged for beating up his captain. Chyna spent most of her childhood in a home filled with alcoholism and domestic violence. Her parents split up when she was 4 years old, which meant she had a lot of different stepmothers and stepfathers coming in and out of her household. she witnessed her fair share of domestic problems, such as her biological father accidentally stabbing her mother with a bread knife, and her first stepfather threatening suicide. As a young kid, she was taken advantage of by her schoolteacher, who kissed her. By the age of 16, Chyna's abusive mother forced her to go into rehab after wrongly suspecting her of doing drugs, which caused her to go and live with her alcoholic father. But things started to get worse for Chyna when she found out that she had developed an ovarian tumor. While in the doctor's office, she received news that her father had used her insurance to cover thousands of dollars of his medical bills.
These are life's lessons, right?
During her time in university, she was raped by 2 men after getting drunk at a party. But despite all of the painful experiences she went through, she also fought a constant battle with drugs and alcohol, as well as mental illness. This eventually took a toll on her, as she sadly passed away at her home from a drug overdose and alcohol intoxication at the early age of 46.
Chyna? Chyna?
Batista, the World Heavyweight Champion! Batista is back!
Batista grew up in Washington, D.C., in a violent ghetto which was ridden with crime and poverty. He recalled seeing people get shot and a group of people beating up someone right in front of his house. By the age of just 9, 3 people had been murdered in Batista's front lawn. Batista's parents split up when he was very young, which meant his mother had to provide for him and his sister. At times, they were so poor that they weren't able to eat anything at all. His mother recalled a story where Batista and his sister just avoided getting shot when they were caught in a crossfire after someone pulled out a gun and started shooting at a drug dealer outside his house. Due to the rough neighborhood Batista lived in, this meant he got involved in gangs, which saw him fighting and stealing vehicles. By the time he was 13, he was arrested on numerous occasions and spent time in juvenile halls. After his life had hit rock bottom, Jake the Snake Roberts managed to turn his life around after years of battling with alcohol and drug addiction that can be traced back to his childhood days.
I couldn't do 24 hours without doing cocaine. Wow. If you wanted me to get up out of bed, bring me some cocaine.
Even at birth, Roberts was plagued with tragedy, as he was conceived due to the result of his father raping his mother, who was 12 years old at the time. As the years went on, Roberts would also learn that his father had raped his sister and his half-sister on numerous occasions.
And then later in life, my father was raping my sister, did not know it. He raped his other daughter, did not know it. Do you want to believe that of your own father? You don't ever want to believe that. God, you don't want to believe that, do you?
He lost the people who were closest to him, his grandmother to cancer, his stepfather who was electrocuted to death, and his sister who was kidnapped and murdered. He was regularly abused both physically and sexually by his stepmother, which led him to start drinking alcohol at the age of just 11, before moving on to hard drugs by the age of 18 to help numb the pain he was feeling. His severe depression as a result of his traumatizing childhood even led him to a failed suicide attempt using pills.
To go from hell, 'cause that's where I was at, man. You have no idea what it's like to wake up and be angry that you woke up because you didn't want to. You wanted it to be over. Even when I tried to OD a couple of times, really tried. I took 100 Valium.
Jesus Christ.
110 milligram Valium. Woke up, and all I've done is puke on myself. And I said, what a fucking loser you are. You can't even die right. You're a piece of shit. What kind of mind says that?